This is not an imbalance, and neither is this. In today's video, you're going to properly know what imbalances are because we're going to talk about them. These concepts alone do not add up to the first principles of market microstructure. So in this video, we're going to be properly learning what imbalances are and what they actually look like. Welcome to the order flow series. If it's your first time seeing my face, my name is Shane Gab, and I am currently learning about order flow from an absolute beginner level. So far, we've talked about what liquidity actually is, what orders actually move the markets, and in this video we're going to talk about what imbalances truly are. But I'm creating a series where I take the time to study each of these concepts and really simplify these complex topics into bite-sized and understandable lessons for all of us to be able to understand. If that sounds valuable to you, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. But now let's get into the topic at hand. So I feel like the foundation we all need to understand before we dive into what imbalances truly are aggressive orders and passive orders. Now in our second video, we went ahead and talked about the two, but this video is going to be tailored majority to aggressive orders because this is how you're going to be able to tell the imbalances in the market. And honestly, if you watched the previous video before, you'll know that aggressive orders are what moves the markets. So now let's get into the first principle definition of what imbalances are. I have it written here on my notes because I feel like this was the best definition that explains the concept to its entirety. So the simple definition that I would have to give to a 5-year-old would be that when there's more aggressive buyers than sellers, that is an imbalance. Now, there is a little bit of an industry level or a little bit of a more defined and advanced definition, which is when the number of lots bought or sold is greater than a predetermined ratio. Now, the industry standard ratio for this would be a 4-to-1, which means if we have 50 place orders at a certain level and 40 of them are towards one side, that will cause an imbalance to be flagged. Now, the building block that goes on top of the definition of imbalance would be stacked imbalances. Stacked imbalances would just be 3 consecutive imbalances of either one of these sides, whether it's aggressive buyers or aggressive sellers. Now, why does imbalances matter? Well, it's very simple because it helps tell you who's winning, right? It helps tell you when the larger players are coming into the markets, and also it helps tell you who's gaining a sense of direction. But in order to even understand who's in control, we have to be able to see it. And this chart is not the way to see it. Now, the best way to see these imbalances is by looking at a footprint chart. So now on a footprint chart, it basically shows the bid and ask for the candle. Now, I feel like I should do a deeper video on the footprint chart, some of the concepts like unfinished auction are some of the things that I'm still learning. But for now, I just want to go over the bid and ask. So right here is the bid. This is where it shows sellers hitting the bid or sellers getting executed. And this is the ask where it shows buyers lifting the ask and getting executed. So of course, it's color coded to be easily put. This just basically means that each of these levels, there was aggressive buying going on, that there was more buyers than sellers from at least a 2-to-4-1 ratio. And then vice versa on the bid, you'll see that there's red going on, showing that there was, or indicating that there was more sellers. Now in this candle, you can see that there's a lot more selling imbalances, right? And that makes sense. This is a pretty big red candle. It's a pretty large red candle at that too, right? So there's a lot of selling imbalances going on, and pretty much down here to the lows, there is no buy imbalance. It's just one, right? But also keep in mind, there's no selling imbalances either. It's pretty even here. But this is how you actually see imbalances. You have to actually see what's on the bid and the ask. You have to actually see the amount of executed sellers versus executed buyers at a certain price level, right? You can't look at a candlestick chart like this and say, this is an imbalance right here, because it doesn't tell you actually if it is. This could just be even action from both buyers and sellers, but the buyers were slightly pushing the markets up. Right? You need to be able to see what was going on the bid and the ask. If there's one thing that I want you to get away from this, and especially in the whole order flow series, is that you need to use tools that actually show you orders, not just what happened or how a candle printed, but orders. Right? That's why it's called order flow. So now let's get into the topic of what stacked imbalances are. Now, like I said earlier, stacked imbalances are essentially 3 consecutive imbalances in a row. So once I put on the little highlighter to make it a little bit easier, you're going to see that this area right here is going to have a zone. This is a stacked imbalance. You have a stacked buy imbalance here. You have a stacked sell imbalance here. Now, as far as how you can use these levels, that is at your own discretion. I believe that you should really take the time to kind of look and see how these played out, because everybody has their own way of using imbalance. For me, I would like to see a little bit of confluence between an imbalance level and somewhere that I'm trying to get entered. For example, let's say we're up here, we come up to the sell side imbalance, we're up here, and instead of it being heavy buying here, it may be instead heavy selling. That'd be a pretty good confluence for me wanting to go short here. But at the same time, everybody uses imbalance differently. My job is to just kind of help simplify the concept so that you can take it and start to create your own theories from it. So with that being said, let's go over a neat little recap. Imbalances are simply when there's more aggressive buyers than sellers at a predetermined ratio. For example, for every 10 buyers, there may be 30 to 40 sellers at a certain level. That's what makes an imbalance. Stacked imbalances are when there are 3 of these consecutively. Best way to see imbalances is by using a footprint chart, because then you can see the actual bid and ask. And last but not least, the reason why it's important to see imbalances is because you can see where large orders of the market came in, where there were more buyers than sellers at certain levels. This can help give you directional bias and also help tell you intent on the day when you're around key price levels. But at the end of the day, please take the time to take this definition and really put in the research to find your own different ways of using imbalances. If you already use imbalance with the footprint chart, feel free to leave a comment in the section below of how you actually use it so you can kind of help some of us out as well too. I hope this really simplified the concept. It was a pretty short lesson, but I feel like it is necessary, especially when getting into the bigger topics of order flow, like trap buyers and sellers. For example, on the previous screen, you probably saw a green bar and wonder what that is. That was trap buyers. But in order to understand all these heavy, intensive concepts, we need to first understand the basics and the foundation. But I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and until next time.